Robert, what is the fascination that people seem to have with fireworks, with all the loud noises that they produce?
Well, there's the idea of blowing things up. Like little kids who take toys apart to try to figure out how they work, or they take your vacuum apart, or your TV, or, people know how to take things apart, but they don't know how to put them together again. And I think that's one of the things, but I think the real thing about fireworks is the 4th of July, which it is right now. And I assume that's part of your question. But to understand the 4th of July, we have to go back to understand what happens at Hanukkah and Christmas, what takes place at the turn of the year, at the winter solstice. And if we just talk from nature point of view, there's winter time. Nature contracts into the earth, and during the winter, the crystals grow and the gardens don't grow. And there's a world breath that takes a whole year, so that at Christmas time, the breath goes way into the center of the earth, and it rises in the spring with the sap and the reinvigorating and renewal of the goddess mysteries of love and the flowers and the bees. And this breath comes up and it rises up, and it's an invisible breath that form and matter rush into. There's an invisible breath that's like a negative capacity. There's a breath that breathes into the earth in the winter and breathes up in the spring and summer. And it's like a negative capacity because it's so holy that everything, all the things and substances rush to fill it. And it's like the Immaculate Virgin Mary, or Isis, who gives 3 wise men follow a star to the birth. And because of that purity, the stars rush in. The spirit of the sun rushes in to the birth within the soul. That this metaphor of the virgin space, or the virgin inner life of Mary, that the stars, the spirit of the sun comes in, and we get a sense of aliveness with love and truth and the spirit of the sun, the spark in our heart. And so anyway, to make it not complicated, the earth breathes in the winter and breathes out all the way to the summer solstice. So the summer solstice is where the breath comes all the way up out of the earth. It comes all the way up out of the earth and through the springtime sap, and forms flowers and fruition in leaf formations and the sweetness of the earth. So the world breath breathes. I think A.E. George Russell has a poem called The World Breath. And he knew about it too. I think he's a little bit earlier than Steiner. He's maybe not. No, he's a friend of Yeats. So maybe he's around the same time even. So the earth takes a whole year to breathe into the inner earth, where crystals in the underground are alive and the upper earth is dead during winter, or it looks like it's dead. It's freezing. And then the earth breathes out in the spring, the sap rises, and it goes all the way to the sky at summer solstice. We have Easter, or Astarte, or Astar, Ishtar, and the return of the goddess. In Steiner's, Rudolf Steiner's cosmology, the way that I wrote about in my book, Astrological Aspects of the Art, the Saturn mystery is the winter, and the sun mystery, the sun returns in the spring. And then all the flowering comes up and offers itself to the sky. And so the fireworks are a materialization, you see. This whole little talk is to share with you that the fireworks are the over-materialization of the revelations that we would have in the summertime garden and with loving, kind friends and fellowship and community. So there's this offering to the sky that takes place in the summer solstice, and which is also like St. John's Day, where John the Baptist loses his head and says, I must decrease so that he can increase. And I think that that's the idea, that the Christ descends after the summer solstice. The days get shorter, and there's a descent from this offering up to the sky. And we could say that satellites and the electromagnetic webbing around the Earth that blocks this stellar and solar breathing and weaving with the Earth, that we've kind of electrified and magnetized everything, so that normally there would be this breath of the inner Earth that rebirths itself in the inside core of the Earth, which is an inner fire, an inner stillness, and an inner aliveness, while the outside's dead. It's like when you're meditating. Like the Saturn is meditation and yoga. And then it comes to the sun evolution, and we shine, and we don't wear as many clothes, and it's hotter in the spring and summer. And as the summer comes, we expand with the spirit that goes into nature. The spirit of the earth goes into nature and offers itself up to the stars. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we've kind of over-concretized and materialized everything. And so instead of having spiritual revelations of peace and love on the earth, we just watch things blow up and pollute water and pollute earth and pollute the air. And if you're at fireworks, you can feel the pounding of the hardness on your body, and you can feel like the sound hurt your ears if you're too close. And the next day you can smell it, and you can taste it if you're a swimmer in the water of the lakes that they do this over. And so I'm just questioning it. I'm not saying that it's wrong or bad. I'm just saying that from an esoteric point of view of a theosophical, Manly Haw, Blavatsky, Tibetan Buddhist, I'm questioning Hermetic Neoplatonic view, and the view of a poorly edited but quickly written 450-page book that's loaded with different ideas of the esoterica and astrology for inner intuitional reception and vibrations and insight. The book Astrological Aspects of the Art has a lot of this in it too. And so then you have this idea of the four chambers of the heart, and the heart of the earth is the four seasons. So you have this breath that comes out of the earth, springs up through this subtle breath that fills up with flower forms and grass and the sap of trees. They all follow this breath. And then the breath goes up the top of the trees into the sky, and we wish we could fly up there with it. We wish you could actually physically, materialistically fly to the moon, blow off all kinds of fireworks, have those kind of revelations, and then inwardly we ponder participation mystique, that somehow we're part of everything, but we don't understand why. Does that make sense? Then from this offering of the sky, we lose our head, and we're supposed to find our heart of the universe. We lose our head to find our heart. There's nothing to lose but your head. You can get a head only so far, and then you need to have a heart of love and compassion and kindness and forgiveness and peace and some kind of sense of working together for a future, rather than always trying to recapitulate the past. And so then what happens is the days get shorter, and we go to the fall, and we have this idea of the mystery of the birth of the Christos, and then we have this kind of death of the inner earth, where the outer earth comes alive, and death and rebirth of the outer world at this springtime Easter Passover. We pass over from the head to the heart. That's what the Passover is about. You pass over from the dead sea of the head to the living waters of the heart. It has a lot to do with the tarot and the star card, and that goddess that pours water, the Aquarian goddess that pours water on the earth and the waters, so that we somehow gift the inner and outer worlds. And so after the summer solstice, the days get shorter, and we go from the Saturn evolution of Steiner or Blavatsky's rounds. The first round, second round is sun, third round is the moon evolution of Steiner. And that's the summer, and that's the lunar mystery of the full moon. It's kind of like moon madness, and Midsummer Night's Dream is an image of this. And meeting the three witches, the three witches that don't have it's a physical, emotional, mental, that don't have an ego center or a Christ center or a Buddha center. And the three stooges, or the three that mess it all up, or the three musketeers who are too intellectual and fight all the time and argue and debate each other? Or is it the three wise men that follow star to that birth, and then this kind of higher meeting at the temple, and this kind of healing that can take place in springtime with the Archangel Raphael, and then you go to the Archangel Uriel in the summertime, which can be very destructive, but the destruction is all to try to make a renewal take place, that all the bad things that happen are to try to force us to grow. It's kind of like the carrot or the stick, in a way, that you either go for the spiritual carrot of growth, or somehow something messes everything up and you get hit by the stick, and you have to, there's no shame or blame, but you're forced to learn and be humbled. And then it comes to like the fall mystery that of Michael. And Michael, in my astrology book, talks about, like, Michael spells alchemy, actually. And alchemy, instead of a Y, you have I. But it's the same letters as Michael, Archangel Michael, which is very famous in the Jewish mysticism and in the Christian mysteries and in Revelations. And Michael is the one who beats back the Luciferic forces of false dreams, that we dream we can just sail to Mars and forget the Earth and all that stuff, and we can blow things up. And so we go to the fall of Michael, and we kind of wake up that things are dying outside and drying up, and that we see the suffering that takes place everywhere, and we make the inner wish that we will one day be enlightened and wise enough to heal the suffering and not just cause misery that doesn't bring growth. And so then that's Michael's mystery, is spiritual cosmic intelligence of the sun mystery, of the Christos, of the Christ, of the Buddha mind, that is the spark in our heart in the empty space, the quiet space. And then we go back to the Christmas time again, and that's the cycle of the year. So the year breathes out from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, and we have all these revelations of the whole year and what we tried to do, and then we have to contract again. We have to contract back into ourselves to find out what really matters, what's really going to make us happy, what's really going to make the world better. And that is the mystery. So Solomon's temple, they build it, and then it somehow gets destroyed, and they have to build it again, and then it gets destroyed. And in sand castles, I'm standing next to a mountain, knock it over with the palm of my hand. Jimi Hendrix sings a song like that, and I think Donovan has a song about how things come and go too. So happiness is a circular motion, as Donovan said, who's kind of compatriot of Dylan. Are there any further questions on that, or did we do it in this 14 minutes? So I think that would be an introduction. Why are fireworks? Why is there war? Because we're lazy about growing things, and we just want to blow things into like big fires of passion or music or money or celebration. And we need the quiet time and the stillness to hold the big party, the party of the world, the one big party that holds all the little parties, the one sun within each one of us that weaves a community and a wholeness. So, see, the fascination with just loud noise, it's not just fireworks, it's loud everything. The noise factor of the whole world. When COVID virus took place and everybody had to stay home, it got quieter around the world, and nature tried to come back. And we create not only noise, We create invisible noises with invisible, like satellite stuff and heavy, intense electromagnetism and invisible rays that give telephone signals and army signals and TV signals through the air. And satellites are girdling the whole Earth with electromagnetic, blocking the cosmos from breathing into the Earth. We're being cut off. And there's kind of like a artificial intelligence that isn't artistic and is superficial. There's kind of like this whole idea of Roboton consciousness and machinery, and we just press buttons all the time, and everything does us, and we're all self-serving rather than giving ourselves to higher love and truth and friendship. It's very difficult, almost impossible, and you can see the difficulties of so many people, like Steiner's rumored to be poisoned, and Osho had similar problem, and Blavatsky had to hide out after a while for revealing, and Isis unveiled all these secrets of every esoteric school and criticized the lack of love and truth in philosophy and science and religion. And they tried to represent truth. Gandhi tried to represent truth. Martin Luther King tried to represent truth. Mark Twain tried to join them. He was like an early Kid Rock who tried to join what was going on and smoked cigars and gambled and traveled up and down the Mississippi River and hung out with anybody who partied and wanted to talk. But yet he defended like love and truth to every person. Every person had a co-equality that we could garden and we could share, you know. And I think we've lost the ability to love and share in some way that's fun and that doesn't cause a lot of problems, you know. So when you say noise, that's a big, big question. And Rudolf Steiner addresses it. Blavatsky addresses the problems with crass materialism, blocking spiritual intelligence and higher love, you know. And so whether they're bombs and war zones, the fireworks are like, just like the car is a premonition of being some kind of awareness and consciousness locked into a metallic sheathing and metal robot consciousness, right? It's like you can see in driving a car, you've got the whole idea that one day we'll live in robots, or that we can externalize our nervous system into televisions and little phones, and we kind of lose ourselves, you know, like that. And we're not going inward to the center where we can hold still. And I think that the whole gamut that I share with people is that if you can hold still, you can see everything moving, that you start to have a sense of the universal mind and intelligence of everything, if you can hold still. And so this holding still and then trying to study science and entering into the world. Steiner was really big that by really listening to other people and looking at other people and studying nature, that we're kind of selfless for a minute while we're hearing. But you know, when you try to hear bird songs that are all disappearing, it's much different than fireworks. So again, my message is try to be still and alone with yourself. Go on retreat. Go to a Tibetan Buddhist retreat or Vipassana retreat. Go hang out at the one of the yoga centers hang out with Neoplatonists. Go on a spiritual study. Jerry Brown, who people put down, but if you ever heard him talk directly for an hour, he doesn't have notes, and he's like as amazing as Kennedy or any prophet. Or I mean, there's a spiritual vibration that's trying to take place to bring peace to the world and community and brotherhood, the beloved, beautiful family of friends and community with animals and plants and trees. And there's other forces that are just profiteering and over-concretizing, over-materializing. Now, this isn't new. Everything I'm saying isn't new. I think the thing that's new to us and makes us renewed is to study the living relationship of things to each other. Right? So when you really, for a whole year, Rudolf Steiner said that the easiest way to find the Christ or to be clairvoyant or to become like very spiritual and intuitive is to watch the breath of the year for a whole year. So you watch the breath wherever you are in whatever part of the year, and you watch it rise from Christmas solstice, winter solstice, and from winter solstice or Christmas, you can take 12 days and study the 12 days as a sigil for the 12 months to come. And you can follow the breath, move out into spring and out into summer solstice, and back again, where everything contracts and it gets darker and darker, and the light starts to go away, and we come to thaw, and we start to breathe in ourselves again, and we invoke the Michaelic courage. I think in Rudolf Steiner's cosmology, you have the Christ or the Christos, or the representative of man. Sometimes he calls it the representative of man, the as above, so below on earth as it is in heaven. The Hermetic approach is the representative of man who holds back the stars and the earth so we can grow in between, but also channels the stars and earth so we can grow in between. And and in between what? I think death and rebirth and reincarnation, which Steiner sigilizes as Christian Rosenkreuz, and the alchemical wedding, that somehow we're between these factors when we give birth to the middle way. And Michael, the agent of the sun spirit, and that the Christos and Rudolf Steiner are working to recompose a new heaven and earth, and the old heaven and earth are kind of composted in this sense of the heart. So the four chambers of the heart, the human being as thinking, feeling, willing, and a sense of I am, everything, nothing, and a mind, which I try to talk about in my books. I think that's kind of the secret, and I think if one just considers nothing else, that you're everything, nothing, and a mind, you're kind of co-equal with every other person. And then you can see the virtue of that and discover yourself and another in that. So bless your heart. Thank you for asking that question. So really, I can say this at the end here, that when we talk about fireworks, it's a fallen spiritual reality of the fire philosophers. The fire philosophers re-enkindle the fire within your heart and your soul and your spirit. And most people have lost contact with the balance between spirit, soul, and body. And so the body, you can eat good food, for instance, and you can exercise and take care of yourself. But the spirit is the spirit of the whole world. It's our unity with everything and our oneness with everything. And the spirit is like some kind of amazing, magical, crazy wisdom that where events take place and we don't understand them until 7 years later, and things go wrong and things go bad and you make mistakes, and then you wake up later and you go, what was I thinking? And my old friend Marianne Williamson, there's no shame or blame. There's only learning. And I used to think that it was a naive idea and it was simplistic, and she'd tell me this all the time. Whenever I'd see her or something like that, I'd hear her say it to other people too. And it's really, the fire philosophers are like, Rudolf Steiner has a book called Modern Mystics or something, and he goes through Meister Eckhart and a lot of the really great philosophers that lead up to the Rosicrucian movement. The Christos, Spirit of the Sun, Heart of the World, Rosicrucian movement. He leads you right up there. And Blavatsky talks about it too. She wrote Isis Unveiled, saying it was, that there's some kind of mystery of the fire that keeps burning up the past and getting us into a more awakened future. I mean, I don't know, maybe one day we're all going to be part of stars and sun, but that is on a crude level, materialistically it's fire. But on a spiritual level, the fire is intelligent love. So MayflowerBookshop.com. On YouTube under Robert Thibodeau. YouTube, Robert Thibodeau, songwriter, Mayflower Bookshop. On YouTube, there's songs and these talks, And MayflowerBookshop.com is a website, and there's a bookstore. And, I always think that people should take a really good look at Theosophy, Rudolf Steiner, Osho, Manly Haw, Neoplatonism, Hermetics, yoga, tarot cards. If I have anything to offer, I would study these things and see if it can help you in your life to make everyone happier around you. Hey, bless your heart. We'll try again some other time.